So she used to live in Georgia. She married the son of the owner, now the foreman, and invited us to the spring gather. Spring gather, obviously, we gather cow calves, and we're going to inoculate and castrate and do checks on things like that. We're going to move from summer pasture from winter pasture, which is down low, to spring pasture, which is high. A lot of mountain ranges up there and so forth. So Mary says to me, well, Louis, I'll make sure I get a good horse for your father-in-law and for your son, because they're really broke. But if you could put a little time on this 3-year-old, I'd appreciate it a lot. She's broke, fine, but, she needs somebody who knows what they're doing. So sure enough, she's a big, stout mare, and I get a hold of the mare, and we start to saddle her up because we're going to saddle back at headquarters. And she's fine. Certainly she's been tied and saddled and ridden, and throw a saddle off on her and put a halter on her. Before you know it, we load up in the truck and we head out. Now we head out, we're going to the other end of the pasture, so we drive 30 minutes to get to the other end of the pasture. We were talking on the way in, we spotted a few little baby black calves. We looked at them and said, that little dot over there is a calf. And you look around in your pastures today and you'll see those little babies nestled down in the spring in the morning. But out there, when they say, ride out there and get that dot, they're talking about a cow 30 miles away. And you better canter lope for 30 minutes just to find the little black dot that turns out to be a cow-calf pair out there. We're talking a little different acreage. Well, we get out there and unload, get my horse off, and I get her bridled up. And put my bridle on her. She's doing just fine. And I step up on her, and whoa, she's a little stiff. And if you've ridden horse a little bit, you can tell when there's a little bit of a knot in her back, and you better not play hardball because she's going to win. And the dirt's hard out there, real hard, because it's dry, very dry. So you never really want to do a soil test out there. It's not for an agronomist, I'm telling you. And I noticed I rode this little 3-year-old mare. She kept looking back. She knew exactly where headquarters was. She knew where she came from. I doubt she'd ever been out where she was. And she kept looking around there. And this little knot in the back of her back. And I'm thinking, buddy, you better play your cards right, because you're going to be one Yankee. I was living in Pennsylvania at the time. You're going to be one Yankee that's mighty embarrassed when you get thrown off in this ground out here with these cowboys. They don't let a lot of Yankees in together because they don't really know the things, and so they don't really want to mess up their program. So I thought we better play it close to the chest. Well, by golly, she finally started to settle down and breathe. She kept looking back at headquarters, and I thought, one way or the other, she's going to get back there. With me or without me. You know, when we walk through life, gang, there's a lot of us that have motivations that are different. The Bible says, only through pride comes contention. The Bible talks about our quarrels among us and that they're based on our lust. Who among you is wise and understanding and show by his good behavior his deeds in the gentleness of wisdom? For where there's bitter jealousy and selfish ambition, there's disorder and every evil thing. This wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but it's earthly, it's natural, demonic. For wherever there's bitter jealousy and selfish ambition, there's disorder and every evil thing. See, that mare wasn't wicked. She wasn't an outlaw. She just had her nose and her mind set on what she wanted to do. There isn't one of us that God doesn't use that doesn't have selfish ambitions. There isn't one of us that he calls that he doesn't have to purify in the process, because we're never perfect. We never arrive. And so there's imperfections. Ironically, when he finally gets Moses to come in chapter 4, and Moses finally gets to this whole list of excuses, he finally says, all right, I'm going. God sends an angel to put him to death. You scratch your head a little bit. That can't be right. He just said he would go. Now you're trying to kill him. And his wife, Zipporah, gets over to the second son, circumcises on the spot, throws the foreskin and says, you're a bloody husband. They had a marital issue because he circumcised the first son, and she said, over my dead body. God said, we can arrange that. God was going to use Moses, but not with a marital difficulty. They were just normal people like us. Abraham and Sarah, we know them as the patriarchs of our faith. And when they're looking for a child, before that, when Abraham and Sarah are in the wrong places, Abraham says, "This is my sister." Yeah, that's true, but it kind of led into a bad situation. Later on, when they're looking for that child, Sarah offers Hagar. God never used them because they never protected each other in their marriage. And until they got that right, how many years? You see, selfish ambition lies in all of our hearts, friends. And it's only when you're out there on that back plane and you want to get back to your spot where you're in control of life, suddenly things, and pride isn't that I'm better than you. Pride is that I want to always be in the driver's seat of my life. This mare wasn't evil. She just had her agenda set out in front of her. See, we first understand that life and Christianity is not about self. Jesus said, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself daily and take up his cross and follow me. Well, we've been going along pretty good now, and the mare settled down a little bit. I was relaxing and thinking I might just live through this. I might see tomorrow. Well, we know sinner and round this earthen pile. Sometimes they'll dig out a water area and they'll leave that dirt as a windbreak for the cattle and things like that because, it gets cold up there. It's high country up in there. When I say high country, if any of you have skied Angel Fire, it's up where the snow country is. They used to own Angel Fire. This is the CS Ridge. You don't get that, do you? No. This is Charles Springer. Charles Springer brought up the Northeast Territory of New Mexico. He owned all the water rights of New Mexico. Whoever owns water in New Mexico is a rich, powerful person. It's 365,000 acres. Okay? Well, I kind of rounded the corner there and I saw something. And I tried to move my mare up, and she not having anything to do with it. She puts on her old brakes, and she starts to snort and snarl. And I try to get her over there, and she's not going to go anywhere near in front of me. But I'll just step off of this old mare, and I'll go. And she's a snorting and snorting. I can hardly reach it because he's pulling back, and I'm reaching, and I'm pulling, and I'm reaching, and finally, I got it. You're not impressed. A lump of calcium. Folks, you don't get this. This ain't no just cattle's fault. This ain't just no dead cow. This is a stall off the CS. Charles Springer Ranch. Place where Jiggs Porter lives. I asked Jiggs how old he was. He said, I don't know. I never knew when he was born. I think he was at least 150. He's sold. This is the place where Will James put a line shack up there. To this day, on the line shack, there's the artist drawing that Will James wrote in the Will James Hotel, his line artistry in the Western. You're not impressed. You folks really Texans? This is Louis L'Amour stuff. This is the real stuff. This is the history of the West. And I'm thinking, I got me a skull off the CS. Why, you can still see 150 years later the wagon ruts of the Santa Fe Trail still to this day. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get me a piece of history off of the CS, off the Santa Fe Trail. You idiot. You can't get near your horse with that thing. She pulling back and snorting and snorting. And I'm thinking, oh, man, now I can't get on my horse. What am I going to do? I got me a treasure, and I'm debating. Funny about stupid things like this. When you get all caught up in them and you're all lustful over them and what you're going to do with them and hang them on the wall, and you ain't going to make tomorrow. And I'm thinking, I can't get near this 3-year-old, and if I do, she's going to kill me in the process. So I said, Mrs. Davis, well, she's the owner, I said, would you hold this for me till I get up on my horse? And she looks at me like a cross-eyed Yankee. He's like, oh, no, I got another city slicker on my hands. It's just a cow head. All right, she said, until you get on your horse, then you're getting it back. So I gave it to Mrs. Davis. She got up on it. And I got up on my horse, and I side-passed her over to Mrs. Davis, and she handed me that skull, and my filly's looking and jerking and pulling. And I'm thinking, she's going to buck me off and run this horn right through my heart. I'm going to be a dead man right here with this old cow. You idiot. You'd sell your soul for a dead cow's skull. You'd sell your future. You'd sell your ministry. You'd sell your life for empty bones. Amazing how the road to hell is all paved with good intentions and there was tinsel that caught our attention, something shiny, and took us off from our mission, took us off from the course. Keeping the faith and a good conscience, keeping the faith and a good conscience, which some have rejected and suffered shipwreck. There are a lot of good men in the Bible that started out well and never finished. All of us start a race, friends. That's why we're sitting here this morning. It's the finish that's the difference. And if this stupid distractions distract us from purpose and value, life is not about stuff, is it? The measure of success, friends, is not how much stuff you own, but how much stuff you can live without. And keep your focus like a laser focus. Although I must tell you, I did get home with the stall. We call it overmounted. When you're on a horse that's too much for you, you're overmounted. And your desires in life for stuff are greater than your desire for character. You're overmounted. You're going to get swept. Well, I may be slow, but I'll catch on. So we're riding along on my little mare. Woo! Ha! I'm riding flank. Now there's steer riders. They're riding up front and they're steering the herd, or lead rider, what you call them. Steering might be the side if you have a large cattle herd. This wasn't that large. Cow calf. I'm on the flank. I'm on the side. And then there's the drag riders at the back. Okay? And I'm, whoa! Ah! Boy, I'm moving the cows out. I'm so proud of myself. I think everybody ought to be impressed. Because even though I'm a dumb Yankee, I'm moving cows. And those cows are just moving on ahead out there. And the fat cows are all up front. And they're doing just fine. And I feel these looks. These looks from those cowboys that never say anything. You know, the code of the West. You're just supposed to figure it out. You know, when you're out on the ride one day and you don't do it right, they bring you back if you're a young rookie and they throw you on the ground and they take your chinks off like these bullies and they just whoop you with the chinks and you're supposed to figure out what you did wrong. Well, they do the same thing when it's your birthday too. You're supposed to figure out what was your birthday, you did something wrong. It's the way men talk to each other out there. And they just gave me that dirty, hairy eyeball look like, what are you thinking? What's wrong with you, you Yankee, you city slicker? Man, I had the fat cows out front. Woo! I noticed a few calves more to the back, but those cows were moving out, and before I know it, the herd's starting to break, and there's a few even skinny cows starting to follow the fat cows out. Well, I was pretty tickled with myself. I had no clue. I had no clue. I was missing the mark. Now, in our culture, it's a little different, isn't it? It's kind of the skinny models that we're always chasing out there, isn't it? Somebody, the sleek model, the sensual model, the image of success and beauty and achievement. We're chasing. Or I guess you don't reckon you get it, do you? Fat cows. Take no offense, women. Fat cows. The reason they're out front is because, and the reason they're fat, friends, is they don't have any kids. They got career. They got energy. They're stinking calves. They'll suck the life out. They'll take your time and your priorities. Problem is that the skinny cows were following the fat cows, and they were leaving their calves behind. We all want to be around people that are fat cows, with wealth, health, whatever we call success. Somehow we hope that somehow favor will follow us if we follow the fat cows. We have show partiality. Even James says we show partiality to the rich, and they're the ones who often do it wrong. He says, do not love the world or the things in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life, the desire to impress, the desire to possess, the desire to indulge. It's in all of us. It isn't just you. It isn't just your crime. We're of this world, and we love this world, and we want to be part of this world, and we want the world's riches. And I guess the fat cows know where it's all at because they seem to. In our young generation, we're now to 1.7 reproduction rate in America. It's about the fat cows, and we're worried about whether we're sleek and acceptable. It's more about showing off. I work a lot with, I'm a counselor. The many a couple that I have counseled, when they married, they were in Bible college. The man said he was going to serve God. Instead, he got out, started paying his bills back, got a good job, never really served God the way he promised when he was young married. Women reflect the heart of the man. Women amplify the heart of the man. And many of those women have become pursuers of things and pleasures beyond comfort, beyond your imagination. He said, if you want to serve God, you want to serve Mammon, I'll give you a good task to do. When America was first started, friends, there was the Northwest Territory that was already occupied by men and trappers and squaw wives. Roanoke, Virginia was occupied all-male colony, and both of them were dead to America. It was only when the women went, the women who suffered the hardship, the women who never had the comforts of life, the women who gave their all to be with the man, to help society, that made those nations part of ours. The women are as important every bit because they inspire our nation where it's headed. And we must realize that the heart is not just a revival of men, but it's also a revival of marriage and women and mothers who inspire us to sacrifice, to cheer us on, the things that are noble and high calling. Women, life is not about stuff. Life is not about self. Life is not about showing off. Well, okay. Oh, it was dusty out there. I'm telling you, this land had not seen water for a while, and those cows were stirring it up, and it was dusty. And all those drag riders had their handkerchiefs up over their face and their nose, and they were dragging those calves. Calves. Oh yeah. The calves that were with the skinny cows that were following the fat cows, they kind of fell behind. There were a few more after I'd kind of invested myself. There were, rather than 2 or 3, there was like a dozen or 20 calves at the back. They're slow little calves. Of course, you have to understand that all calves are called dogies. And then there are the mavericks. They kind of run off when you go after them a little bit. And then there's sleepers. They're kind of out there where they're just sleeping out there. And you kind of got to go wake them up a little bit. And then there's the cripple calves. You know, where they're 3-legged or they got a club foot or something. And you kind of got to gather them up, sometimes tie them up, throw them in the pickup truck, or you throw them up on your saddle. You know, and these calves get falling behind. And those drag riders back there were just, I mean, I got it. The rookies should all be back there with those little stinking calves. It was dusty and slow and dry. But I looked over, Mrs. Davis was over. And Javier was over. And Nana was over. All back with the calves. from the kids, it's kind of like today. They're only 30% of the population. I wouldn't worry much about them. Of course, they're 100% of tomorrow's generation. The Bible says, and there arose another generation who did not know the Lord, which he had done. Somehow something got lost from the mama cow to the calves, and the calves fell behind. And the owners who saw, you see, this, there's a little problem here, friends. It's not a steer operation. This is a cow-calf operation. And it's not about the cows. It's about the calves. It's not about the church. We're all saved. A generation. A world of faith. We're falling behind. We're out of touch. We're slow. We're crippled. We're lame. We're going to be left behind. And if somebody stays behind and nurtures them and helps them to come together. You see, it's concerned that we are worried about our safety and our comfort zones. We need to realize what kind of decisions are we making and how does it impact the generations come after us. All things are lawful. We get away with all kinds of things in the Christian. But not all things are profitable for the next generation. All things are lawful, but not all things, some things create addictions and dependencies. See, when you love, you give up your freedoms to empower others. Like my father-in-law said, sometimes you seem to lean over backwards to get other people to stand up straight. It's about serving the next generation. Well, we've gone through the dust. Okay, over there. I mean, that Javier, I just wanted to go over and give him a piece of advice. He's back there, and his stupid horse bites one of those calves on the rear end. And I was going to go over there and tell him how to train a horse and tell him to teach his horse some manners. About the time I looked twice, I reached over and I looked over and I see Javier's horse just kind of nibbling on that little calf's rear end to get it to come in line. And I thought, stink, even his horse knows more than I do. Tell me anything. We'd come into the gather in pen there, a lot of head of cows, and there's a crescendo of bawling going on for the calves. They got separate from their mamas, the mamas that are in their pens. And I mean, you can't hear each other, you can't talk to each other, and we're still gathering, and the cows are moving in, the calves are coming in, and all of a sudden Javier jumps off, and he runs like crazy, and calves are past and throws it in the pen, and they close the door. I'm like, I didn't think Javier could move that fast. He used to lay back. Now, don't mind me. I'm not critical of Javier. In fact, I respect him. I respect him so much that I imitate him. In fact, I realize that I'm kind of a fast study because I became bilingual on the gather. I heard Javier over there going in Spanish. Yeah, whoa! And I did the same thing. Before I knew it, I was speaking Spanish. Whoa, ha! And those cows, they knew a difference. They knew I was bilingual. I was good. Well, I kind of gather that. I mean, I realize you got to get your last calf in and close the day gate because, you know, it's kind of like a youth group. When one rebel leaves, takes a few with them. And I knew if a calf left the group, that likely 2 or 3 would go with them. Well, obviously, that's kind of the way it goes, right? You get that. And kids are influenced on other kids, and they kind of work like a herd and kind of stuff like that. Well, but I didn't want to ask. I kind of wanted to ask Javier. It's kind of like the disciples after he came back. They kind of want to see questions, but nobody got the nerve up to ask questions. No, you first. No, you first. And I think I ought to ask Javier, but I didn't want to really be any stupider than I already appeared. But after things settled down and we started getting ready to do the branding and the castrating and stuff like that, I said, now, Javier, I understand that you had to get that last calf in. But somehow there was something more it seemed that you were doing or concerned about than I was picking up on. I know you want to get every calf. He said, you don't understand, do you? I guess not. He said, if a calf gets away from you and gets back into that pasture, it will go back to the last place it was nursed, and it will wait for its mama to come find it. So if we miss this calf and we move these cows and calves to the high pasture, that's a dead calf. That's a loss. I was in Florida speaking at church. I'd gotten done, and I stepped down, and there's this man come up from the back, and he's just a marching like this, and you know how this guy. You can just feel the energy come from him. It wasn't positive. Just feel it. He was angry. Here, of course, somebody said, I need to talk to you, or need to see the principal, or whatever. Feel this. And I knew this man. I've been to this church a lot. And he came up to me and said, I just want you to know I'm having problems with that oldest son of mine. That son that went to your camp last year. Well, it's true. I used to run a large youth camp, feed 300 people a meal for 30-some years. And his boy come to my camp last year. Now, homeschool family, wonderful family. He was the oldest of the family. You know, they did everything right. And his time at the ranch, the week or two, was just great. It worked in his life, and he was really doing good. But he was messing up really bad. And I mean, it's only fair that this guy should be upset with me. I had him for a whole week. He only had him for 18 years. It's fair. And he wanted a refund. And the miracle didn't stick, I guess. And so he was upset with me because whatever I'd done wasn't working now, and he wanted to blame me for that kid. And I get it. Right, JT? Now, when you're in a situation like that, you know he's expecting you to talk. And you know whatever you say, he's going to get hurt. He ain't going to listen to any advice. He didn't want advice. He just wanted to tell me how upset he was. If I don't say anything, I'm going to get in trouble. And if I do say anything, it's kind of like marriage a little bit sometimes, you know. You're pretty silent with it. I like that. But you know what's going on here. So I just said, I'm sorry. Got to hurt a lot. And he shrugged his shoulders, just manner and hops at me like, that's all you're going to say? And I let him walk. And I let him walk all the way to that back door. So he got back here with you, back row Baptist, back here. I got you. I got your number. And when he got to this door, I said to him, there's one thing you might try. Just as he reached that door, and he kind of turned. This time he came up a lot slower. He had enough exercise that he got the froth off of his drink. And he came up and he got up to me. He said, what's that? Well, I said, I want you, before you put this boy of yours on the street, this firstborn child of yours on the street, I want you to go back to your family albums. That's when we had albums, by the way. Some of you might know what that is. And when you first knew you were pregnant, you were going to have a baby. And then when you knew it was a little boy, and you thought about the names of your son, your firstborn son, and you held that little baby in your arms, firstborn son, and you called him by name. And the dreams you had for your firstborn son, and the imaginations of things you would share together, and the joys of your life. I want you to walk through your photo album and watch the vacations when you're eating watermelon and playing baseball and watching them go up through school and all those things. into the family times and his holding his other little siblings and how proud of him you were. And I said, I want you to put these last 2 years in perspective of the 70 years of your life and influence in this child's life. You may still have to put this child on the street, but I'll promise you it will be with a broken heart and not of an angry Father. And he will know the difference. Why? Because there are many a person out there who never made success, never made the high pasture, that is waiting where they've been wounded for somebody to come and find them. They're older men in bodies of 50 and 60 years old. When you ask them about a coach that wounded them, tears will still run down their cheeks because of the words that were said to them by their father or their coach that wounded them deeply and left them alienated from the fellowship of the body of Christ. Cowboys always get tough image of tough exterior, but when Jesus calls us, he said, feed my sheep. I want you to be a calf tenderer. Your future, your wealth, your prosperity depends on the care of the little ones. Our job isn't done, friends. It's just beginning. Jesus never rescinded the command to make disciples. And it's never too late to go back and find a calf, or if you are that calf, that wounded heart, and find a way out and ask for help, or to give help, and to find that broken heart that never was able to express the deepest pain of their life, and to find that there is forgiveness, there is love, and there's a future. All of us have a job to do. We need to ride the range and find that little speck out there. Do whatever it takes to bring that calf into the game. You may be that lost calf. You may be that wounded calf this morning. Gate got closed somehow in your life. You never made it where you were acceptable and you found the love of Christ, the unconditional love of Christ. And you need to admit that in your heart this morning. And you need to ask God, who gives to all men liberally and without reproach. Whatever you lack, he will give to you if you ask him. He will meet you 99% of the way if you would lift the hand, if you just cry out to him in your heart, God, help me. I don't know what crisis you're in, dear people, but crisis is the soil for God to fertilize and give a fruitful crop in your life. Surely some of us have stumbled over an unforgiveness issue, a bitterness issue, an unfair treatment, and we have alienated ourselves because of our hurt and our prejudice and our self-pity, and we are out of fellowship. A marriage is broken. A relationship is ruined because we chose to hang on to the stupid stuff, the tinsel. We've given up a life of prosperity and ministry for dust and bones. The Lord Jesus Christ has called you to serve with him, beside him, to sit enthroned, equipped with everything for life and godliness. No excuse for any person in this room today. Some of you have gotten hurt in ministry and you're tired of giving. You're tired of being appreciated. You're tired of the kids living alienated from you or whatever. Suck it up. Go back and feed and nurture. Give again. Not because it's in you, but because they have need of it. And your purpose will be rejuvenated in life as you pour out your life to feed the hearts and souls of the hungry. Father, thank you for our day together. Thank you for the fellowship. It's always sweet in Jesus. Thank you for this body of believers and our opportunity with them this morning. Bless them in the name of Christ. Amen.
My Jesus, I love thee. I know thou art mine. For thee all the folly of sin I resign. My gracious Redeemer, my Savior, art thou. If ever I love thee, my Jesus, 'tis now. I love thee because thou hast first loved me and purchased my pardon on Calvary's tree. I love thee for wearing the thorns on thy brow. If ever